Welcome to the Build on Beauty podcast, where beauty is born skin deep. Now, here's your host, author, speaker, entrepreneur, Cornell Jermaine.
Thank you for joining us here. We have a very special guest with us. She is not only the wife of an actor who has taken the industry by storm, but she's also an actress, singer-songwriter, a mom, and a woman of faith, which we'll get into. Please help me welcome Rebecca Cruz. Rebecca, how are you?
Hey, I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Now, before we get into the details of the interview, I just want to jog your memory because we met, it's been years ago, but I want to see if you remember, it was at the wedding of Derek and Sophia. I was Sophia's hairdresser, and we had some moments back then because I learned about you, and I was introduced to you by her, and of course your husband.
Yes, I do remember meeting you at Sophia's wedding. It was actually like a vow renewal, I think they did.
Yep,
and
it was
I
their
do
10
remember
year.
us yakking in the back room. I will confess, I vaguely remember your face, but I do remember your hairstyle for some reason. I really loved your hair, and you're kind of a tall guy, aren't you?
I am, yeah.
Yes, I remember. I remember a really tall brother, and you were whipping that hair. I remember us chatting.
Just wanted to plug that in, but I do remember that you had a lot of great things to say, and you were very encouraging back then, and that was when I learned that you and your husband, although you were in Hollywood, you guys were men and women of faith, and I really appreciated that, and I want to get into some of that today. But first, Let me help us understand, how did you end up in Hollywood all the way from, Benton Harbor, is it? Benton Harbor, Michigan?
Yeah, well, that's a very long journey, Cardell. I don't know how much time you have, but I was born in Benton Harbor, but I didn't live there my entire life. My parents moved to Gary, Indiana to work for U.S. Steel and for Methodist Hospital there in Gary, and so I grew up in Gary, Indiana, went to college in Kalamazoo, Michigan, where I met my husband, and we were on the 5-year senior plan trying to finish school, and he was drafted into the NFL. And so through all those journeys of being in the NFL, we moved about 7-8 times to different teams. And eventually we moved to Los Angeles in 1997 to pursue entertainment. So that's a long journey. That was, how old was I when we moved to L.A.? Oh, my goodness, probably about 32, 33 years old. So I made a lot of stops along the way.
Wow. Now, when you arrived in LA, coming from the Midwest, was it a culture shock for you?
It was a very big culture shock, and I want to say this because I grew up in a town that had a lot of snow. Gary had very horrible winters, and I remember, man, I don't know where you grew up, but I'm telling you, my mother made us walk to school in the snow because she said it was good for our character. And I remember wearing one of those Michelin Man snowsuits that zips up from your ankle all the way up into your hand on the other side. And I have a scarf on all around your nose, and your nose is snotting, and you're walking, and the snow is up to your knees. And I just remember just crying out to God with my little 9-year-old self. I said, Lord, I want to move to California when I grow up. So I always joke that God heard my little 4th grade prayer and landed us in L.A., and I love living here, I will tell you. But yes, very much, I was thrown into this world where people don't talk to each other necessarily on the street. You don't just wave at your neighbors, and there were a lot of things that were shocking, but just mostly because I'm in a new environment, a new community, a lot more people, a bigger city. And it took me a minute to adjust. It took me some time to make friends. So I was pretty miserable. I was pretty miserable the first probably year or so that we lived in Los Angeles. But I had eventually become accustomed to learning new places and new things real quickly. You know, it's a lot like the Army or living in the Army or the Navy, and you move around. You just adjust. You just pick up a map or whatever. Now we got the Google, and you just learn to get around. I don't know if you remember Thomas guides, but I had a Thomas guide in my car, and I would just, where's the grocery store? Where is the school? Because my husband would go straight to work, you know, so I had to fend for myself and find a church, you know, find the neighborhood laundromat or who knows what, you know, and so I always had to kind of take care of myself with that. So I learned pretty quickly how to make my way around.
Wow. You and Terry are parents of 5 beautiful children. Were there any kids in the picture at that moment?
Oh, yeah. We had 2 kids when we moved to L.A. Naomi, who's 30 now, and Azriel, who's 26, were little girls, like second and third grade when we moved to Los Angeles. And, yeah, they had to go through it. They went through all the moving, too. You know, it can be traumatic to kids. And I think that was part of my decision to kind of not be so career-oriented while Terry was doing his thing. I'm like, who's going to raise these babies? I got to look out for them. And every time you turn around, we're in a new school. Every time you turn around, we got a new place to live. You know, it was a lot of hard work and a lot of effort to make sure they weren't like crazy all the time, because they never could stay in one place long enough to make good friends and kind of feel secure. You know, it becomes a lifestyle, you know.
Now, speaking of that, do you feel, I guess now 5 kids later and you guys have been married multiple years, do you feel like you had to kind of put your dreams or visions on the back burner for your husband?
I think I did it because it was my wish. He never told me that I had to be a housewife, but I had a strong inclination, and the only way I can say this is that I felt like it was God's will, that I not be so serious about acting, singing, and dancing at that time. It felt as if my time for that was kind of over, and I had made a decision to marry, and that if I marry, then I might as well join myself to the vision of the man I married. I mean, that's kind of what I put it as. And I will say I was not even really interested in pursuing the arts until after I had my last kid. That's funny, because once I had my baby, it was like something rose up in me like, now it's your turn. And I went, huh? It's my turn? I don't even know that I want to turn now, God. And he said, no, it's your turn now. It's time. You can go. Sarah had a baby at 99. You could do this. And I went, oh, Jesus, give me that Tina Turner anointing, you know, to be fabulous at 50 and go do it. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we've done. We've just moved toward the purpose of God and the dreams of our hearts. And we're just trying to make it happen and prove to anybody around that you can never be too young or too old to pursue the dreams in your heart.
That's right. Now, just since we're on family and marriage, let's just dive in, because I think most of the world looks at Hollywood as this place that no one can stay married or have a successful marriage and be in this industry or this town. And you and Terry have proven that otherwise. What are some keys that you guys have used throughout your years of marriage to maintain a healthy marriage in Hollywood?
I want to say this first off, and I hate to be the disclaimer queen here, but Hollywood is unlike any other business, and that is precisely why I think people don't live together and keep their families together, because there's a lot of transience in this business, okay? People go away from their families for months at a time to shoot movies or to shoot films or work on a set for long days. And I think that that's a part of why we see transience in the relationships. We see it's no different than a salesman or a salesperson or, you know, people who have jobs that keep them away from their family for long periods of time tends to be conducive to high divorce rates, high separation rates, high infidelity, because of the lack of togetherness. And to that end, I feel as though we've made it, because of our faith in God, one, definitely, absolutely, from the bottom of our hearts, the reason we're still together is the Lord, because we hadn't been together more than 5 years. And we were like going through it already. You know, I don't know if you read my husband's book, but he wrote a book entitled Manhood, which I'm going to throw a plug. Go get Manhood and give it to the men in your life. It's an amazing testimony. And he got involved with a teacher in Green Bay, Wisconsin, when he was playing there, and he was there all alone for camp. Now, thankfully, there was no real, how can I say it, emotional affair. It wasn't a very serious entanglement, but it had its roots in there where it could have ended our marriage. And I remember saying to him, well, you know, we can do this or we cannot, but how do you want to play this out? And he got on his knees and he got right. You know what I mean? He was like, I'm sorry, I don't know what I was thinking. And I said, well, you know, it's up to you and Jesus, you know, but hey, I'm going to be with you for real. But if you want to clown, then, you know, leave me be. I'll go be with somebody who really loved the Lord and want to act right, you know. But he really got, in my opinion, got his heart right. But what he did not divulge to me at the time was that he had this serious addiction to pornography that had begun even before we were together. And so that was an underpinning of failure that could have really taken us out, you know. And I want to say this to all you Christians out there, and especially believers who are very modern, that we ought not play with our thoughts in our mind and think that pornography isn't cheating, and that sexting and texting isn't cheating, and that conversing with your former boyfriend and girlfriend on Facebook isn't cheating. It's all cheating. It's all cheating. You think you won't get caught, or you think you won't go all the way, but you don't know what you're going to do till you're in the situation. You need to be careful and guard your mind and your thoughts and your heart and do the right thing from the inside out so that you don't go down. That's my moral lesson for the day. Okay.
Wow. And a good one.
And so to that end, Jesus is the reason we're not apart, okay? And God's done a miraculous thing in us. And like I said, if you get husband's book, you hear the whole story, you hear the full story, you hear all the ins and outs and the brokenness and the stuff that led to him being addicted to porn, and how he got in a position where he almost lost it all, and we almost didn't make it. And God did a thing for him that can't nobody take away from him. And he's a crusader now in this industry. He's a crusader against this demon, against this foul spirit. And he tells people how he had to go through a lot to get out of it, to change his thoughts and change his reasoning. But God did it for him, and he can do it for you. And so I say to people all the time, no matter where you are in life, you can be set free from addictions, pornography, lust, affairs, drugs. There's a deliverance in Jesus Christ. And it comes at a price. You have to pay the price. You have to fight. You have to go in. You have to get help. You have to be accountable. You have to get prayer partners. You have to get prayer. You have to have hands laid on you 100 times if you need to. But if you go after that thing, you will defeat it. And I want to say that to my men and women out there, because this industry is tough. It's a lot of spirits that come against people when they are high profile. And that does not mean that you're immune from controversy or anything, because you're a Christian. If you're a Christian and you're high profile, the devil's after you too. But the same God who strengthened me and strengthened others can strengthen you to get the victory in your situation and get the victory over it from within. So hopefully you don't have to go through the tumble to learn. Praise God that you learn through the tumble, but I don't know that's the best way to learn. You know, break your leg, skin your knee is not always a good way to learn the lesson. How about listen to wisdom and learn from others and don't repeat their mistakes? And so that's my advice. I can say faithfully I've never had an affair, but that's mostly because I'm too scared to go mess with somebody else. I'd be like, nah, I don't know about you, you know. I'll take the devil I know, you know. But in that name is great power. And no matter how deep the sin and how dark the sin and how wretched you are in your own mind, or how much you may have compromised with the devil, that I can just say this and do that, but don't nobody know, hallelujah. But you know what? All things come to light, and everything that's done in the dark will be revealed. And we have to be open to the fact that God's trying to deliver us, so we don't have to go through a public humiliation. We don't have to be let down. We don't have to be ashamed of our family and friends by revealing what's been going on. You know, I know Teddy and Tina Campbell went through a very serious dilemma in their marriage, but they are making it work because they took the time to do the work. They're fixing what was hurting, and they're helping people. So there's no disqualification if you break. So only if you won't get up.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Now to that
I didn't
woman.
mean to preach. I'm sorry.
It's in there. Yeah. Come on, give us all that preach. But to that woman, and I want to go here just for a minute, only because I know there's a woman listening and she needs to hear it. She's in a relationship and she's gotten connected with this guy who loves her and she loves him, and he just so happens to be a public figure, someone who is sought after, someone who, you know, might have women that prey on him, but he might not entertain it, but they pray. How does she handle herself so that she's not insecure with his popularity or with the attention that he gets?
Well, I would say this. First off, you have to know who you are in Jesus Christ. You have to know who you are. And insecurity can stream its head no matter who you're with. You can be with the plumber, you know, making $15 an hour or whatever and be insecure. I think your security has to be in Jesus Christ and in who you are as a woman of God, or even if a woman who doesn't consider herself a faith-based person, she has to feel that she's worthy and that whatever he does is on him. You know, that really is the case. You cannot take blame, responsibility, or ever feel as if there's nothing you can't do that would ever make them go right or go wrong. It's really on them to be righteous or to not be, okay? If you were entertaining the idea of seeing someone and you know that's a problem for you, I'd say if you don't feel comfortable with a man like that, then I'd back away. Because you have to be, what's the right word? You have to be fearful of what can come if you know what's in the business. But on the same token, are you really for sure this is the man God has for you? Because if it is, and you really sense that, and you really went to prayer and really went to God about who is supposed to be in your life, and you really believe God's called you to be with a man who's influential, then go. You know, it's go and do it. It's a matter of faith, really. It's a matter of determining what is your destiny, and does this person meet the qualifications. Like, don't just marry him because he's famous. That would be a huge mistake. Or be, you know, swayed by the glitter and the gold and the promise of a fancy lifestyle, because that can go away. I'm going to be real with you. After the NFL, me and Terry started over. We started over, baby. We went straight to the bottom of income with 2 and then 3 children, because I had my first California baby that first 2 years that we were in L.A. We went to the bottom of our income. We were riding on old plates and no insurance and all that. So you can't get with a man because you think he's going to be this, that, or got it, because they can go through something, hardship, sickness, accident, dismemberment, anything can happen, and you don't have that. You got to love them for who they are. Would you love him without all that? You know what I'm saying? Would you be impressed by who he is from the inside out? I think that's the more important determination of whether you should be with him, not so much whether he's famous or he's not. But I understand the premise of having insecurity around a famous person, because, you know, the tabloids never give you a break. They always give the picture that everybody in this business is clowning. And everybody in this business is on drugs. And everybody in this business is cheating. And everybody's out, whatever, being irresponsible. But I know of marriages like mine in this business, but we don't make the news. Because people who are just living good don't sell papers, okay? And there are set people and actors and directors and all kinds of people who work in this business who don't have affairs, and they don't cheat, and they love their spouses, and they have kids, and they have these very beautiful situations at home. And nobody writes movies and stories and tabloids about you because you're not worthy of attention, because you're not no trouble. I don't want to paint the picture that we're not all misfits, as it were. There is a misfit quality to being an entertainer. There's something a little off about you, you know, that you like the attention. You like to be in front of people. There's a glow about your personality, like you're a celebrity before anybody knows you. You walk in the room and smile and people look at you. You know, there's a light about you when you are shining like that. But the character issue, that goes to the core of who you are, no matter what you do for your business. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? And that part of it has to be, I think, much more solid when you're a public figure because everybody's watching what you do. But it's not, it's not the same character as someone who's not well known, in that you have more people that are affected by everything you do. So I think it would behoove us all to think of it like a kingdom, like a crown, like a robe that has responsibility to it. And that if you wear it, then you better act right. Because a lot of people can be influenced by you. They can also be tremendously disappointed and hurt by whatever decisions you make. And I don't think you should wear the robe if you don't want that mantle. If you don't want to be an example, don't wear it, because you'll be an example either way.
Wow, that's good. You're giving me some good stuff.
I'm coming off the cuff here, bro. I'm telling you. But it's really true. If you don't, Patti LaBelle said one time, this is funny, she was talking about how celebrities hate to get recognized and they go out and they don't want people to bother them. She said, well, then leave you know what home then. She said, leave you know what home if you don't want anybody to bother you. But you're a celebrity. That's why you chose this, you know.
These days you can't act like you did maybe 20 years ago. You know, they were refused pictures and didn't want to talk.
Because everybody's got a phone. They'll take your picture whether you want it or not, you know. They just walk up on you in the grocery store and slide up and take a selfie. You looking the other way and they choop, you know.
Right.
Yeah, it's a big invasion. It's a big violation of personal space going on. I always say to myself, something about this is not quite fair. You shouldn't be able to just smoke me like that, just boop, boop, and like without my permission, but people do, you know.
Wow. Now you have a new single out that is I think great because it's a different sound from what I've heard from you before. Yes. And tell us about it. It's called Breathless, right?
Yeah, Breathless is a song that I wrote out of great pain, if I could tell you the truth. And it's a dance cut because we brought a DJ in and did this remix of it, and that's why it has the vibe it does. But it was written out of some great pain, to be honest with you, because when my husband and I were going through traditional counseling and we're kind of trying to see if we still want to do another 25 years together, we had a fight about something. And it was one of those fights that didn't end well because we just were not going to meet in the middle. I had my you know, thoughts and feelings on my sleeve, and I was very fearful about some things he was saying, and I was like, you know, you're not making me feel secure about your life when you want to make decisions like a financial decision and not talk with me about it, and it's a big decision. You know, and it made me like insecure, like how are you going to say we're a couple and you did that without my approval and consent and we're in unity about it, you know? And I know a lot of men think, oh, I can do what I want, it's my money. But the Bible doesn't say that we should live as two people in the marriage, okay? So there had previously always been an agreement between us that we had never spent a certain amount of money, above a certain amount of money, without talking to each other about it, right? Like we have a little ceiling. So I don't give money to family, or I don't shop, or I don't do anything on a certain level unless we sit and, hey, is it okay if I go boom, 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 because it's this much money? So that we're not both out there doing something and we look back and, you know, we're in a pickle. So he had done something I thought should have been run by me, okay? Now, we've made our peace over this now, but at the time, it made me very fearful because we're still in counseling. We're still kind of, are we going to make it? So it looks like you're about to make a move to X me. That's what I was thinking. Now, the truth was he was doing something he'd always wanted for himself, and it was basically getting an office downtown. And we share that office. As a matter of fact, we shot the video for Breathless in that office. Okay. And so, but in the fight, we couldn't come to terms. And the next thing you know, he's rolling out the door like, bump you. And I'm like, bump you, right? And I sat there stunned because I'm fresh off this counseling appointment and I'm fresh off this kind of, we're teetering on the brink of a separation, or I don't know what's going to happen, And I could not breathe. I tell you literally, Cornell, I was on the piano bench like a zombie. Are you familiar? Have you ever heard of this thing called the Babadook? It's like a character in a book. It's a character in a book. It's like a scary book, but they made a movie out of it. And his hands are stuck to his side, and he has this little scary face, and he kind of floats in to the movie. It's a very funny-looking character. And I kid you not, I felt like the Babadook, like I was sitting there frozen, stunned, almost catatonic in this, what will I do next? Do I file for divorce because I see the red lights coming. I see the headlights coming. Am I going to be kicked to the curb? Do I need to call the war room right now and get ready to just go to battle? Like what? Hey, because you ain't going to get me. I'm going to get you first. And I was having that millisecond conversation in my mind so fast that I could not talk, speak, sing, or even pray. And I was breathless. And I sat there just like grinning to myself thinking, this is it. This is it. We officially, 20 whatever years, it was like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, this is it. And I could see the tabloids, I could see the headline, I could see Terry and Rebecca broke up, Hollywood, long couple, they didn't make it, blah, blah. And I thought about my kids. I had the whole picture in my head. And suddenly, this melody came out of my soul, came out of my mouth. And I stuck my hands on the keyboard because I was sitting at the keyboard when we had the fight. And I stuck my hands on the keyboard and started to play these chords. And it's a very Carole King sounding kind of song. And she's on my wall, by the way, because she's an influence on me. And I plunked out these chords, and all the words came to me in like 10 minutes. When you go and I'm all alone, you leave me cold and breathless. You start to leave and I want to grieve. You leave me cold and breathless. Because I don't want no surprise. You open my eyes to life being sunshine. I need someone to say he won't go away and leave me all alone. So it's that fear of abandonment and the heart's cry of every woman to never be left at the altar. And I couldn't believe it. This song just poured out of me. And it was just this little ballad, which, by the way, we're going to release the slower version of it, the AC. I call it my hot AC version because it's slower. It's kind of very Carole King-ish, like I said. And I played the song for a guy, and he's like, we need to do that. And so we put it down. And then by the time we got around to checking it, and a friend of mine offered to, pay for a remix. He's like, hey, let's do a remix. And all of a sudden it became a dance tune. So it doesn't sound as heavy as how it came to be. But it was a song that just took my heart and my gut out of me and just poured it out on the paper. And so I really see it as a theme song for all women, because our number one fear is to, get ditched, or rejected, or, side pieced. You're 40 and the kids are grown and the guy leaves you for the secretary, or the wife who's working and kicking butt and doing her thing and she's succeeding and he's jealous, or well, because she's so successful and she's working hard and I'm not getting the attention. So I go have an affair with her sister, or I go, it's like the ultimate betrayal. And I think every woman has their own fears, but I know I talk to a lot of women, and those are the fears we deal with. And so my mother, bless her heart, wrote me a little note. She said, your song was really about my life at one point, and she described a time when her father left the family, and even going into the marriage, times when the marriage wasn't good and with my mom and dad. So here I have a mother, she's 70-something years old, and she can relate to my song. So it's my prayer that everything I sing, that I put forth, that I entertain, but I also communicate a truth to you that's going to heal you somewhere and take you higher. Take you somewhere, take you past the pain, take you into the arms of Jesus. Because that's where we need to go when we're hurting. Ain't nobody an atheist when they're going through. I know that.
Come on.
That's what they used to say. You be calling on Jesus somewhere. You out on that battlefield, or you in the midst of a crisis, a divorce, a sickness, a wayward child, and you suddenly find your hands clasping together and your knees hitting the floor. And you didn't believe in God 2 minutes ago, but now you hope he's there. Oh, God, I hope he's there. And even with the songwriters, it's in the spirit. Kesha got the song, I Hope You're Praying. And I saw her video, and she's going through crap. And she says, God, if you're there, whatever, if there's somebody listening, help me because I want to die. Where else do you go?
Wow. Yeah. You mentioned women having this insecurity of being left. And what can men do, these men who are in relationships, being that you've been there, what can men do to make sure that their woman never feels that?
Well, for one, keep your pants up because marriages,
of course.
For one, keep your pants up because marriages are ending in divorce at high rates due to infidelity. And I want to say this, too, on the men. Your women are out there cheating, too, unfortunately. It used to be kind of the guy thing. You read the Cosmo, and it was the men in the high percentiles. Now, it's everybody because it's so easy to cheat. You go to work. You go away from each other. You're on the phone. If I had $1 for every time I talk to a friend, and I want to say this, Christian or not, that's had a series of talks with their mate about something along the lines of cheating. You on the phone with the secretary on the weekend. You on the phone with the coworker, and you don't like her, and you told him you don't like her, but he's talking to her anyway. Like, that's disrespectful, I think men's behavior makes women insecure. And I'm not telling you that you can't just have an insecurity. If you saw your mama go through, you're going to have some of that fear unless you've really dealt with yourself, okay? But you can't cure someone by just promising them what you'll never do. You have to show them who you are. You have to keep her at the forefront of your mind. You have to call her on a regular basis, send her a love note, write her a sexy text message, tell her you appreciate her, help her with the dishes, call the kids and say, your mama's got a lot to do, don't give her no trouble, support and help and be a part of the journey rather than letting her carry the weight by herself. That's definitely one thing I have to say to the men, is be the support system you would want for yourself. Because now most of our wives are working, we're out there doing it like the men are, okay? So you can't be everything. You can't do the housework and the cleaning and the cooking and the kids and go 9 to 5 and bring home the bacon too. You can't be all that. You ain't ever going to be superwoman to that degree. So to the degree you're an equal partner, and I really preach that, in spite of the fact the Bible does teach respect for our elders and our husbands and our parents, and it teaches us to respect these people who have a position to lead us, and I show respect. I don't want to be a servant in my marriage, in the sense that I don't want to be treated like I'm less than you. And I think that's a big quality that men can possess to help their women feel that they're valued, to feel stable, to feel secure, to feel that under any circumstances you would withstand the urge to do something bad just because the impulse or the temptation comes your way. Going to church is a bonus. I know a lot of men who've been in church their whole life and they still don't have good integrity, so that's still a personal choice. But if you will take the Word of God and take to heart what the Bible says and really make yourself moldable and palatable to the Christ-like changes that can happen in your heart, you will be a man who gives women security. They'll be drawn to you, you know. And the sad thing about that is once you become a really good man, you can draw a lot of things. So then the temptation is to be that good man for just the one woman. Because married men who are good to their families and their wives and their spouses are attractive to other people. And that is a fact. I know plenty of women who would go after my husband in a minute just because he wants to be a good person. So they figure, well, he'll be my good person, you know, and that's not good either. So you still have to have the integrity to know that once you've built yourself into that mighty oak tree, that you are one woman's oak tree, nobody else's. And you're God's oak tree. And though you're shining and you're bright and your lamps are burning and your oil is glowing and your life is shiny, doesn't mean you just got to, you know, give away your oil now. No, that's for her and those babies and the people you are assigned to be a blessing and a light for. It's not for consuming. It's for giving away. And what people often take for granted is that, oh, I'm shiny, now I get to have what I want. No, you're given that to be what's the right word? You're given that to be a consumer in some things, but it doesn't mean you can just have all you want. David displeased the Lord by taking a woman who didn't belong to him. And he was a king. And kings in that day did that kind of thing. It was not atypical of a king to take another man's wife and have him killed. That was a very common thing for a king to do, but not David. And as blessed and highly favored as he was, God did really, really come down on him for what he did. And so it shows how much you have to relish and appreciate and compliment what you're given by God, to use it for good.
I love it. I love it. Well, tell us before we get out of here, how can we get the single and find out what else you have going on?
Oh, okay, awesome. Well, my single is streaming and downloading everywhere. So it's available on every streaming and music site you can imagine: Amazon, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, all those places. So if you don't want to buy it, you can go to Spotify and play it. You can, you know, check it out. My video for the single is up on YouTube. So please go watch the video and like and comment and share. And the same with the song, spread the word. You know, we're doing it independently at this point. Hoping to maybe merge with some partnerships where we can do more promotion. But and the other thing is we're doing a couple appearances. One, I have a showcase coming up in L.A., so go to my website, RebeccaKingCruz.com, to get more info on the showcase. That's going to be in Beverly Hills. And then also I am doing, what else am I doing? Working on an independent project, a little film project that I was cast in. So I can give you more info about that, but it's tentatively titled Blueberry, and I was cast as a main character in this project. So I'm excited about that because I was an actress before my husband was, and I was an actress before I did anything. And so I'm really stoked about doing this project and getting to nestle my acting chops on camera for everybody to see. So,
wow.
So prayers and blessings around me. Mama trying to do her thing at this stage.
Yes. And you've gotta put a conference or something together for women, because the way you have just laid it out for them today on this show, I mean, they need you. They need that gift. They really do.
Well, thank you. And I will tell you that I've already done one women's conference. It was last summer in Los Angeles. And we had such a big undertaking and cost with it that we kind of postponed it to do it in the second year. But most definitely I'll be gathering the ladies and dropping the knowledge, just because I'm too old to not have something to say. And I'm like, it's about time to pass it on. You know what I'm saying? It's like a lot of young women out here, that's the main thing they say to me is, Miss Cruz, how'd you do that? And I go, girl, with a whole lot of support.
Well, Rebecca, I could talk to you all day, but I know you've got to go, and I appreciate you just joining me and sharing with our ladies the pearls of wisdom that you have. And we'll be in touch. We'll definitely be in touch to see how things are coming. This has been the Build on Beauty podcast, where beauty is born skin deep. I'm your host, Cornell Jermaine. Until next time, let your soul be made whole. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Build on Beauty podcast. For more information about our host, please visit cornelljermaine.com.